Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. We are so glad you're here with us today.
It's great to be back.
Usually when we sit down at these microphones, we're tackling something, well, something singular.
Right, a specific business strategy, a single historical event, something you can draw a line through.
Exactly, a straight line from cause to effect. But today we are doing something completely different.
We really are.
We're taking a stack of source material that is going to give us and you absolute emotional whiplash.
Whiplash is the perfect word for it. It's rare we get a data set that moves this fast between genres, tones, and even what you'd call reality.
We are looking at excerpts from Surface Detail by Iain M. And I want to say this right up top for you listening in.
Yeah.
If you saw the sci-fi tag on this and think you know where this is going,
If you're expecting just laser battles and spaceships,
throw those expectations out the window. We aren't just talking about spaceships today.
not at all. In fact, large chunks of what we're about to discuss feel much more like, historical fiction or maybe a noir thriller.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We're going to look at three very specific, very distinct narratives from this one text. First, we have a claustrophobic thriller set in the rafters of a massive opera house.
It's incredibly tense, very Hitchcockian.
Then we jump to a gritty, muddy war story. It feels like All Quiet on the Western Front somehow collided with, like, a Monty Python sketch.
There's a surprisingly accurate description. The absurdity is just baked right in.
And finally, yes, we do jump into high-tech space opera territory with a simulation of a full-on apocalypse.
And our mission today, really, is to find the connecting thread. Because on the surface, and the pun is definitely intended, these stories look like they belong in different books entirely.
They really do.
But when you drill down, when you really get into the text as we're about to, you start to see they're all wrestling with the same fundamental struggles.
Which are?
The nature of survival, the blurry line between what's real and what's artificial, and, maybe most importantly, the terrifying way the powerful can treat the lives of others as just part of a game.
A quick heads up for everyone listening. This is going to get dark. I mean, really dark. We're dealing with slavery, torture, some pretty visceral body horror, and the end of the world.
But I think you'll find that the way these pieces fit together is genuinely profound. It builds a very specific picture of a universe where surface detail is everything, and what lies beneath is often, rotten.
It's going to give you a serious change in perspective by the end of this. So let's orient ourselves. Who are the players in this deep dive? Who are we following?
We have three protagonists to track,
Yeah.
and they could not be more different from each other.
Okay.
First, there's a woman named Lededje. She is what's called an intagliated slave, which means she's literally marked as property.
Yeah.
She's owned by this incredibly powerful, incredibly narcissistic tycoon, Joiler Veppers. Her story is pure survival horror.
Okay, Lededje. Got it. Who's next?
Next up is Vatue.
Vatue.
Right. He's a conscript soldier, a grunt. He's fighting in this siege that seems to have been going on forever, and he's trapped in a military bureaucracy that makes absolutely no sense at all. He's gritty, he's pragmatic, and he's just trying to get through the day.
A soldier in a nonsensical war. And our third.
Finally, we have Iain M. She is a citizen of the culture, which is this high-tech, borderline utopian society. But as we'll see, even utopias have their own brand of paranoia. Her story starts in the middle of a simulation of a completely unstoppable attack.
Wow. Okay. A slave, a soldier, and a citizen of a utopia. Let's unpack this. And I want to start with the story that I found the most visceral, the one that really got my heart racing from the first sentence.
It has to be Lededje.
It has to be Lededje in the opera house. The scene setting here is just incredible. We're not on a stage with the lights and the audience. We're in what the text calls the fly tower.
Right.
For those who haven't spent time in a theater or who've only seen shows from the velvet seats, what exactly are we looking at here? Paint us a picture.
The fly tower is that massive industrial space directly above a theater stage. It's where all the scenery is stored, all the backdrops.
So it's not the glamorous part.
Not at all. It's the opposite of glamorous. It's dark, it's cavernous, it's full of machinery, ropes, steel beams, pulleys, and it is huge. The text describes it as a gigantic carousel that stores and swaps out all the sets.
A gigantic carousel. I like that.
It's a machine designed to swap out realities for the audience sitting below. A factory for illusions.
So it's a vertical labyrinth.
Yep.
And it sounds incredibly dangerous, even if you weren't, being actively hunted.
Exactly. And that's where we find Lededje, hiding on a narrow wooden ledge in the dark, absolutely terrified. because she is being hunted.
And this isn't a metaphorical hunt.
No, this is a life-or-death pursuit. She's being hunted by her owner, Joiler Veppers.
This is where we need to slow down and really look at Veppers, because he's not just some thug with a gun. He represents a very specific and very chilling archetype of power.
That's right. He hasn't come alone to do his dirty work. He's bought an entourage.
Who's with him?
He has his bodyguard, a man named Jaskin, who is wearing something called enhancing oculences.
Let's pause on that tech for a second. Enhancing oculences. This isn't just like a pair of fancy sunglasses, right? This is serious hardware.
Oh, absolutely. In this context, these are heavy-duty sensory augmentations. The text says they look like heavy sunglasses, but they give Jaskin the ability to see heat signatures, radio waves, probably sound vibrations.
So all the things that would normally help you hide, the darkness, the silence, they're useless against him.
They're completely useless. It strips away Lededje's ability to hide in the shadows, because to Jaskin, she's probably lighting up like a flare. It fundamentally changes the dynamic of the hunt. She is just a biological creature, hiding. He is technologically superior in every way.
So she's pressing herself against the wood, trying to be invisible, but the dark doesn't protect her. And Veppers also has a medical accomplice with him, a Dr. Swabowski.
Yes, which tells you he's planning for this to get messy.
But it's Veppers himself. It's the way he talks that just chills me to the bone. He is hunting a human being, a woman he legally owns, but he sounds like he's just annoyed. Annoyed that he might be late for dinner.
That is the crucial insight into his character. If you look at the dialogue in this source material, he's not screaming in a rage. He's not passionate. He is complaining.
Yeah.
He mentions that he has a terribly important reception to attend later that evening. He even brings up his butler, a man named Estil, saying Estil will be fretting if he's late.
He's trying to kill or capture Lededje, a person, but his main psychological concern is that it's inconveniencing his social schedule.
He literally says at one point, "This is becoming boring."
That line stuck with me more than any of the violence.
Think about the psychology of that. For him, Lededje's life, her desperate, heart-pounding flight for freedom, the adrenaline and terror coursing through her veins, is just a boring interruption in his day.
It's like your toaster breaking before a big meeting. You're not mad at the toaster's soul, you're just mad that you can't have your toast.
That is a perfect analogy. He sees her as an object, a malfunctioning piece of property. And his language reflects that. He calls her scribble child and young lady. It's incredibly patronizing. It's all designed to minimize her.
And it shows his supreme narcissism. He doesn't see her rebellion as a cry for human dignity or freedom. He sees it as, and I think this is a direct quote, gross treachery and outright insult.
An insult to him, that's all that matters.
And then he makes this threat that is very specific to this sci-fi setting. He promises that if she comes out now, her punishment will be just a minor addition to your body mark.
Let's dig into that phrase, body mark. That implies she's already tattooed or branded, right?
It seems to be much deeper than a tattoo. In this society, the intagliated are people who are marked genetically and physically as property. The text implies these marks are intricate, deep, and they define her entire existence as his possession.
So he treats her body like a canvas that he owns. And he has the audacity to say the punishment will be exquisitely done, of course.
He aestheticizes the cruelty?
Yes. He wants to make her suffering look good or artistic. It's not just about the power, it's about the performance of power, the surface detail of it.
That is stomach-turning. So Lededje is stuck. She's on this ledge. She's terrified. She knows she's outmatched technologically. And then Veppers starts the game.
He starts a countdown. 5 beats, Lededje.
And he claps his hands to mark the time. Clap!
Imagine that sound.
Yep.
A single, sharp clap echoing in this vast, dark, industrial tower. It's pure psychological torture.
It's designed to induce panic. He wants her to rush to make a mistake.
Yeah.
He is controlling the very rhythm of her final moments.
And Lededje realizes she has no way out. The ledge is a dead end. She's cornered. But she has something. She has these 2 knives.
And they aren't just any knives.
No, the text is very specific. They are heirlooms. Later we learn they belong to her great-grandfather. This is significant. It connects her to a history, a lineage, something outside of Veppers' ownership. It's the one thing she has that is truly hers.
A tether to a time before she was property. So Veppers gets to 5. The tension is at its absolute peak. And Lededje does something brilliant. She shouts, "Sir, I'm here!"
It's a feint. A fantastic tactical move. She durably surrenders to buy herself a split second of hesitation.
Because he expects compliance. He expects the toaster to start working again.
He does, and in that split second, while he's probably feeling smug and victorious, she moves.
She takes these heirloom knives and she drives them into the canvas scenery flat she's been hiding behind.
It just slices it open, riding the torn canvas down like a pirate sliding down a sail on a ship.
It's an incredible, desperate cinematic move, a moment of pure kinetic energy. But then the machinery starts.
Right. Veppers realizes where she is and what she's done, and he orders the carousel to rotate.
And this is where the sheer scale of this constructed reality really hits you. The text describes it as a colossal illustrated book.
Yeah, let's talk about that imagery, because it's wild. This isn't just one painted sheet.
No. The carousel is rotating these massive hanging backdrops. The text mentions port scenes, villages, mountains. Lededje is scrambling through a whole catalog of fake worlds.
She jumps from the torn canvas she was hiding on onto a rooftop set.
A fake rooftop.
A completely fake rooftop, complete with fake chimneys, fake smoke, and fake windows. It's described as a very convincing old-world rooftop scene.
I love the detail that there's real pretend smoke coming out of the chimneys.
It's a great detail.
It emphasizes how much effort has gone into this illusion, the surface detail. And here's Lededje fighting for her actual real life in a totally fake environment. It's so surreal. She's bleeding and sweating on a set that was probably designed for a lighthearted opera.
And that contrast leads directly to the tragic irony of her capture. She's climbing this fake roof, scrambling over these artificial shingles, trying to find a way up or out. The carousel shudders to a stop, she loses her footing, and she falls.
But she doesn't hit the ground.
No, she gets caught in the stars.
That is such a heavy metaphor. The sky itself is a trap.
That's it exactly. She is trapped by the artificiality of her world. The heavens are nothing but wires and tiny blue lights, a net designed to create an illusion for an audience. And now that net is the very thing that ensnares her.
There's no nature here to save her, only the machine. The universe she lives in is entirely manufactured by the people who own her.
Veppers sees her, tangled in the net of fake stars. He shouts, "Now!" And a rifle cracks. She's shot in the hip. The fake world drifts away as her consciousness fades.
And the scene shifts. She's on the floor now. She wakes up. She's been manhandled, dragged down from the fly tower. Veppers is standing over her. And this is where the scene goes from being a kind of action movie chase to something incredibly disturbing and violent.
He's admiring her. He's staring down at her face really close up.
And he says something like, "What absurd beauty." He notes that he rarely looks at her this close, as a rule.
And Lededje's internal monologue here gives us a horrific piece of context about their relationship. She thinks to herself, "That is because when you rape me, sir, you choose to take me from behind."
Oh, God. I mean, that line just strips away any remaining veneer of civilized behavior. Veppers tries to project with his fancy voice and his dinner plans. He is an absolute monster.
And it explains why he doesn't look at her face. He doesn't want to acknowledge her humanity.
He wants the object, not the person. He wants the use of the body, but not the confrontation of the soul that comes with looking someone in the eye.
And in that moment, Lededje knows she's dead. She knows there is no mercy coming. She knows Veppers better than anyone. So she commits one final, astonishing act of rebellion.
This is where it gets really interesting and shocking. She realizes the sedative they gave her hasn't fully taken hold. She can still move. She sees his face right there looming over her, and she bites him.
She doesn't just bite him. The text is brutal and specific. She bites the tip of his nose off.
It is a savage, animalistic act. But in the context of what we just learned about how he treats her, it feels like the only possible justice available to her.
It is an act of reclaiming her body by inflicting a permanent mark on his. Think about it. He marked her body with his brands of ownership. She marks his face with her violence. She ruins his precious surface detail.
She mars the perfection that he values so much.
And Veppers' reaction is so telling. He doesn't scream about the pain, not at first. He clutches his face and screams, "I was supposed to appear in public this evening."
Vanity. Pure, unadulterated vanity. Even in the face of mutilation, his primary concern is his public image. He's worried about how he'll look at the reception.
The social embarrassment of a bandaged nose is more horrifying to him than the act of murder he's about to commit. It confirms everything we suspected. He is hollow. There's nothing inside.
And then the inevitable happens. He has the knives, her heirloom knives, and he stabs her. First the throat, then the chest.
It's a violent, messy, horrible end. But I want to focus on Lededje's final moments, because as she lies dying, Veppers and his men are scrambling around him, panicking about the blood, probably trying to find a towel for his nose, but she isn't looking at them. She's looking up.
She looks up at the scenery, right? The stuff she just fell from.
Yes. She sees the tattered scenery hanging high above her. Mountains, sky, all fake.
Hmm.
And her final thought is a single word.
Perspective.
Perspective.
Wow. That's a powerful final word. What does that mean to you in this context? What is she realizing?
I think it's a moment of profound final clarity. She spent her life and her final desperate chase trapped inside these illusions, these constructed realities. In her last moment, looking up at the fake mountains and the fake sky from the floor, she sees the artifice of it all.
She sees the trick.
She sees the trick. She sees the perspective lines that the artist used to create the illusion of depth. She realizes the entire world that Veppers controls, the world that just killed her, is just a set. It's fake. It's small.
So it's almost like she escapes him mentally right before she dies physically.
I think that's exactly it. In her last second of consciousness, she sees the mechanism of her oppression and understands that it's all just surface detail. And in that understanding, she finds a kind of freedom.
That is heavy. And it's a perfect segue, actually, because we are moving from one fake world, the opera house, to another world that feels just as constructed, but in a totally different, much grittier way.
We're leaving the velvet and the canvas and dropping straight into the mud.
We're moving to the story of Vatchu.
Yes.
Okay, let's set this scene. The shift in tone here is jarring. We are in a tunnel. It's muddy, it's hot, it smells like sweat and bad air and fear. This is such a visceral shift. We go from the dry dust of the theater to the wet, cloying misery of the trenches.
And we meet Vatchu. He's a conscript. The text tells us he used to be a cavalry captain, a captain of mound, but he was demoted for insubordination. So he's already a man who has fallen from grace, socially and militarily.
And now he's a sapper, a digger.
Exactly. He's digging tunnels to besiege a castle.
The physical toll of this life is described so vividly in the text. It talks about back buttons. I had to pause on that one. It made me wince.
Yes, that detail stuck out to me too. It describes them as raised welts of hardened skin above each bone in his spine. And they're caused by constantly hitting the low roof of the tunnel. It's such a specific, painful detail. It emphasizes that this is a world of pure physical suffering. His body is literally being reshaped by the labor. He's evolving into a creature of the tunnel.
But here's the weird thing. The mission today is to spot the absurdities, and Vatchu's war makes absolutely no sense.
It really doesn't. It's this strange anachronistic mess.
Yeah.
On one hand, they're using picks and shovels. It feels almost medieval.
Right, like something out of the 14th century.
But then the text also mentions fizzy metal bombs and rubble wagons running on rails. It's this weird mashup of different eras of warfare, which makes the whole thing feel unreal.
And the strategic situation is just as bizarre. The enemy castle has a giant trebuchet, a catapult, that outranges everything the besiegers have.
Right, a single massive piece of siege equipment that basically neutralizes their entire army.
So the command solution to this problem is, frankly, insane.
It's completely ridiculous. They are digging a tunnel towards the castle, but not to go under the walls and invade, which would be the logical thing to do.
No, that would make too much sense.
Their grand plan is to dig a tunnel to a point near the castle, then excavate a massive pit from below, and then build their own siege engine inside the pit to fight the other one.
Wait, let me get this straight. They are digging a tunnel just so they can pop out and build a catapult in a hole.
That is the plan.
That seems profoundly inefficient.
Inefficient is generous. The text explicitly calls it out. Vatchu thinks the idea seems fanciful and idiotic. It perfectly highlights the soul-crushing bureaucracy of this war. You have these generals and a high command who are immeasurably distant and probably sitting in a comfortable tent somewhere, giving orders that make no tactical sense on the ground.
It's the soldier's eternal complaint. The people in charge have no idea what they're doing. It reminds me of the absurdity in Catch-22. The logic is circular and completely self-defeating.
And Vatchu knows it's stupid. He's not an idiot. In fact, he even dreams that the castle floats.
That's a key detail, isn't it? What's that about?
He dreams the castle isn't even real, that it floats by magic or some unseen technology, and that all they're digging is an eternal agony of purposeless striving. He's starting to suspect that the war itself is a sham.
So just like Lededje, he suspects that the reality he's suffering in might not be the true reality.
Precisely. But he keeps digging, because what else can he do? He's a survivor. And then one day, his pickaxe hits something that isn't mud or rock.
He finds something.
He finds a piece of dressed stonework. He breaks through it and finds himself looking into a conduit. a man-made water tunnel.
And it's clean, it's lined with stone, and it smells of old, cold stone. It's a total contrast to the filthy, sweaty tunnel he's been living in.
It feels civilized, ancient, like a piece of a different world.
And despite his cynicism, despite the fact that he absolutely hates his young, arrogant junior captain, a guy named Akis Fatul volunteers to go explore it.
Yes, he and a small team are sent to investigate.
My question is why? If he thinks the whole war is stupid and pointless, why volunteer for what is almost certainly a suicide mission? Why not just stay in the back and keep your head down?
Because he's a pragmatist. He's not a hero, but he's not a shirker either. He sees an opportunity here. The text says he realized this water tunnel was easier than anything he had imagined. He thinks this might be a shortcut.
A shortcut to winning.
Or at least a shortcut out of the miserable grind of digging. He thinks maybe this is it. Maybe we just stroll right into the castle.
He's looking for an angle, a way to beat the stupid system he's trapped in, or at least a shortcut to somewhere dry and clean.
So he leads this small team into the water tunnel. They're wading through calf-deep water. It's eerily quiet. They get past some iron bars. It all seems way too easy.
And of course, it is too easy. They find a grate set into the floor of the tunnel. They work together to pry it open with their tools, and in doing so, they trigger the trap.
The gas.
It's devastatingly effective. As the grate lifts, glass spheres drop from the ceiling above them and shatter on the stones. A gas is released. And the description of this gas attack is just terrifying. It's not a glorious battle, it's pest control.
Exactly. The men start seizing, coughing up blood. One man tries to run and just collapses, twitching. It's instant. It's brutally efficient.
But Joiler survives. How?
Because he thinks fast. He's a survivor. He realizes the gas is rising, that it's probably lighter than air, so he does the one thing no one else does. He goes down. He hides under the water.
He holds his breath and submerges himself.
And he pushes the heavy iron grate over top of him, using it as a shield, and comes out on the other side of the gas cloud. It's brilliant, really. Quick thinking.
It shows his competence. He's the only one who makes it through. He walks out of the tunnel on the other side, into the castle's infrastructure, and straight into the arms of the castle guard.
After all that, after surviving the tunnel, the gas, after outsmarting the trap, he's caught immediately.
And this is where the dark humor of this segment really kicks in. He doesn't try to be a hero. He doesn't pull a knife and go down fighting like Lededje.
Not at all. His pragmatism takes over completely. The moment he's caught, he immediately offers to tell them everything. He says, I will tell you anything you want to know.
He betrays his army instantly to save his own skin.
Can you blame him? He has no loyalty to the idiotic commanders who sent him on this ridiculous mission. Why should he die for their stupid plan to build a catapult in a hole?
It's a fair point. So the castle authorities, do they thank him? Do they welcome him as a defector?
No. Of course not. This world is just as cruel and bureaucratic as the one he left. They torture him anyway.
Why? He already told them everything.
The text says they do it just to make sure he'd been telling the truth. It's pure procedural cruelty. Even when you cooperate, the system has to follow its instincts. The cruelty is just part of the paperwork.
So they torture him, get the same information he already gave them, and then they have a problem. They've got this prisoner. They don't want to feed him. He's useless to them now that he's talked, so what do they do with him?
This is my favorite part of the story. In a really twisted way. They don't just execute him. That would be too simple.
They take him to the top of the tower, to the giant trebuchet.
The very weapon that started this whole absurd tactical situation in the first place. The entire reason he was digging that miserable tunnel.
And they fire him out of it.
They truss him up like a sack of grain and launch him back towards his own lines.
The text says he lands with a thump not far from his old tunnel entrance. His comrades hear it. It's a perfect circular tragedy. He worked so hard to get to the castle, only to be thrown right back to where he started, just, dead.
And his final thought, as he's flying through the air, his last thought was that he's once dreamed of flying.
Oh, man. That is so dark. It's a punchline to a joke that took his entire life to set up. But it connects back to Lededje, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Both characters are trapped in a game being played by powerful, unseen forces. Veppers played a game with Lededje's life. The castle and the high command played a game with Vetui's, and in the end, Vetui's death is treated as a literal joke. He wanted to escape the mud, and he did, for a few seconds of flight.
Be careful what you wish for. It just hammers home the complete meaninglessness of his struggle. All that digging, the back buttons, surviving the gas, all for a quick trip through the air and a thump in the mud.
It renders his individual effort, his competence, completely moot, And that's often the point of these kinds of war stories. The individual is just swallowed by the vast, idiotic machinery of conflict.
Okay.
Mm.
So,
Ooh.
we've had the high-tension opera house thriller. We've had the muddy, absurd war story. Now we are about to shift gears so hard, it might give you whiplash.
We're jumping into high sci-fi. We're going to the culture.
Yes. For those listening who might not be familiar, can you give us the quick elevator pitch on the culture?
The culture is the setting for many of Iain M. Banks's sci-fi novels. It's generally depicted as a post-scarcity, galaxy-spanning, high-tech utopia. It's run by hyper-intelligent, benevolent AI called minds. There's no money, no disease, people can change their bodies at will, and they live for centuries.
So it's basically paradise. It's the place everyone in the universe wants to live.
Usually, yes. But here in this excerpt, we get to see a very different side of it. The anxiety that lurks just beneath the perfect surface.
And we see it through the eyes of Yumin Soki. When we meet her, she is not lounging on a beach sipping a cocktail.
Far from it. She is in a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
Or, so seems, she's in a plasma cannon turret, defending something called an orbital.
An orbital, that's one of their signature megastructures, right? Like
Yeah.
that giant artificial ring world.
Exactly. Imagine a ribbon or a bracelet in space, but the bracelet is 3 million kilometers in circumference. It spins to create gravity, and millions, sometimes billions of people live on the inner surface, which is sculpted to look like a natural world. It's a paradise. And in this scene, it is being utterly destroyed.
The description is just pure chaos. Ships are appearing out of nowhere and just blowing everything to pieces. The text mentions equivtech enemies.
And that's a terrifying phrase for the culture. Equivtech means the enemy has technology that is equivalent to their own.
Which is rare.
Extremely rare. Usually the culture is so far advanced they're like gods among mortals, so this is their absolute nightmare scenario. A peer-to-peer war. It means they can actually lose.
Yaim is fighting back desperately. She's using a neural lace. This is a core piece of culture technology, isn't it?
It is. A neural lace is a sophisticated brain-computer interface, a fine mesh that grows into your brain and allows for a direct link with machines. It allows her to speed up her senses, to process information thousands of times faster than a normal human. She is seeing tactical data overlaying her vision. She effectively becomes part of the weapon system she's controlling.
But even with all that tech, it's not enough. She watches as all the other defensive lights on the orbital wink out one by one. She realizes she's the last one left firing.
It's a moment of desperate, futile heroism. She's facing thousands of enemy ships. She knows she's going to die. A machine, a skull-faced robot, breaks into her turret.
It smashes through the glass, gets right in her face, raises its weapon, and says,
Grill over.
I love that reveal. It was all a simulation, a training exercise.
Yaim wakes up in her apartment. The war is gone. The robot is gone. The destroyed orbital is back to being a paradise, and she is furious.
She gets into an argument with her supervisor, a guy named Shivel Castro, and she makes a really good point. She tells him the drill was pointless. She says, I fail to see the instructional element implicit in being subject to a completely unstoppable attack.
It's the classic Kobayashi Maru problem from Star Trek, right? Why force me to participate in a no-win scenario? Why force me to experience the trauma of watching my world die if there's no tactical solution, no lesson to be learned?
And Hoval's argument is that it teaches resilience, that it prepares them for the shock of a real attack, but Yumin's isn't buying it.
And this argument reveals so much about the culture's collective psyche. Even in their utopia, they are terrified of being wiped out. They practice losing so that, if it ever happens for real, they won't be surprised by it. It suggests that beneath the perfect, calm surface of their society, there is a deep, abiding well of fear.
And that paranoia is literally built into their architecture. This is where the text gets really cool, with the description of the distributed city Yaim lives in.
Yes. She lives in a city, but it doesn't look like a city as we would recognize it. The buildings are spread out, separated by kilometers of parkland and countryside. It's not dense like New York or Tokyo. It's more like a garden with skyscrapers dotted through it.
And there's a very specific, very paranoid reason for that. It's not just for the nice view.
There's a very practical and very alarming reason. The text explains that almost any building in the culture, including Yaim's own apartment tower, can be converted into a spaceship.
A DIY spaceship. That is a wild concept.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It says you can basically just seal the windows, strap on a powerful engine unit, and use your neural lace to navigate it through space. It's described as a dangerous hobby for some people, but the buildings are all designed with this capability in mind.
So the reason the cities are built this way, as separate self-contained towers, is so that they can function as individual lifeboats.
Precisely. If the orbital gets attacked for real, your entire apartment building can just blast off into space and fly away. The city isn't a city, it's a fleet of escape pods parked on the ground.
It's paranoia disguised as urban planning.
That's a great way to put it. And the text gives us the history that led to this paranoia. It all goes back to something called the Idiran War.
Right. This is the context that ties Yaim's simulation to the reality of her world.
The Idirans were a species described as fanatical, invincible ultra-warriors. They were a deeply religious tripod-like species that believed they had a divine right to conquer the galaxy and impose their beliefs on everyone else.
And they saw the culture as weak and decadent.
Exactly. They saw them as decadent, simpering, irredeemably civilian. Which, to be fair, the culture often is. They live in luxury, they pursue art and pleasure, they've forgotten how to fight, or so the Idirans thought.
So the Idirans attacked civilian targets, like the orbitals, specifically to traumatize the culture. They wanted to prove that these beautiful, fragile, artificial worlds were indefensible.
They wanted to shatter their sense of safety. And it worked. The war was brutal and lasted for decades. The culture eventually won, but the psychological scars clearly remain.
So Yoon's apartment being a spaceship, her traumatic simulation training, it's all a reaction to that deep-seated historical trauma. Even in a paradise where she's brushing her hair in a floating city, she has to spend her days preparing for the apocalypse.
And that, strangely, connects her directly to the other two characters.
So what does this all mean? Let's try to pull these threads together. We've got Lededje, Y'breq, and Iain, three completely different people in three completely different realities.
One is a slave in what is effectively a fake opera house. One is a soldier in what feels like a fake war. One is a citizen training in a literal fake simulation.
Okay, so let's connect the dots. The first big theme here is pretty obvious: constructed realities.
It's the most prominent thread. Lededje is literally trapped in a stage set. Her reality during that final chase is nothing but canvas and paint and fake smoke. Her world is an illusion.
And Y'breq is in a war that feels like a dream or a nightmare. He even dreams the castle floats. The war has rules that don't make logical sense, almost like a badly designed video game.
He's questioning the very foundation of his reality. And Iain, of course, is in a literal high-tech computer simulation. In all three cases, the world immediately around the character is artificial. It's a stage, it's a game board, or it's a computer program.
They are all being forced to navigate worlds that have been built by someone else for a specific purpose, and usually not for their benefit.
Which leads right into the second theme, games of power.
Right. This isn't just about fake worlds, it's about who builds them and why.
Exactly. Veppers plays with Lededje. She gives her a head start. He claps his hands to start a countdown. It's a sick game to him. He is gamifying her terror and her survival for his own amusement.
And the castle is playing with Y'breq. They don't just execute him, they fire him out of their catapult. It's a sick joke, it's performative cruelty. It's not just about winning the war, it's about mocking the enemy in the most theatrical way possible.
And even the culture, the supposed good guys, are playing games with their own citizens. They run these drills, these simulations, to manipulate their citizens' minds, forcing them to experience trauma for what they see as a greater educational purpose.
So everyone is a pawn in someone else's game, whether the game master is a cruel tycoon, a faceless military command, or even a benevolent AI.
And that brings us to the third theme, survival. How do you survive in a world that is both artificial and hostile?
They all approach it differently.
They do. Lededje fights to the absolute bitter end. She refuses to die quietly. She bites the nose off her oppressor. It's a futile act in the grand scheme of things, but it's a moment of pure, defiant agency.
Y'breq, on the other hand, tries to deal his way out. He's a pragmatist. He adapts. He finds the tunnel. He survives the gas. He offers to cooperate. He does everything right according to the rules of survival, but he still loses because the game is rigged against him from the start.
And Iain survives by preparing for the worst. She runs the drills she hates because deep down she knows the safety of her utopian world is just an illusion. She knows that surface detail is just that, surface, and that real danger is always lurking underneath.
So let's wrap this up with our deep dive takeaways. After sifting through all this mud and blood and simulated plasma fire, what are the big three nuggets of insight we should walk away with?
I think takeaway one is about how the wealthy and powerful, epitomized by Veppers, can come to view the world as a stage where other people are just props. Lededje's life and death are less important to him than his dinner party, It is the ultimate act of dehumanization. When you view people as nothing more than surface detail, you can justify doing anything to them.
That's a good one. Takeaway 2, for me, has to be the absurdity of institutional power, especially in war. Batui is competent. He's the one who finds the tunnel. But his competence doesn't save him. In fact, it leads directly to his death. It shows how these vast bureaucratic systems often punish ingenuity and grind people up regardless of the individual merit. The system itself is the real enemy.
And I think takeaway 3 is that even in the utopia, the shadow of past trauma looms large. The Aderan War, which happened centuries ago, still forces the culture to live in paranoid lifeboats and run these impossible simulations. It suggests that true peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the absence of the fear of conflict. And the culture isn't there yet. Peace is just a surface detail. Beneath it lies the constant nagging fear of annihilation.
This has been an intense ride. From the fly tower to the mud to the stars, it's a testament to the source material that it can contain all of these worlds at once.
It really is.
Yeah.
It shows the incredible range of the author and how he uses these different genres, thriller, war story, space opera, to explore the same dark truths about power, reality, and what it means to survive.
So before we go, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over. In all 3 of these stories, our characters are trapped in a system much, much larger than themselves. Slavery, war, a society-wide simulation. So my question is this. If you were Iain M, would you bother running a drill you knew you couldn't win?
That really is the central question, isn't it? Is it better to refuse to play the rigged game? To just sit down on the turret and do nothing when the unstoppable attack comes?
Or is the act of fighting back, even when you know you will lose, the only victory that truly matters? Is Lededje biting the nose of her oppressor the ultimate triumph, even though she dies 2 seconds later?
She doesn't win her freedom, but she leaves a permanent mark.
A mark that ruins his reception. She forces the universe and her oppressor to acknowledge her existence, even for just a second.
Perspective, right?
Respect. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Remember, there's always more beneath the surface. We'll see you next time.